Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is September 9th, 1996, and both Nitro and Raw are on Monday this week. Hooray. Because this is like one of the worst Raws I've ever seen. Joseph, how are you?
Oh man, spoilers. Do you want to start with Raw then?
Nah.
All right.
I think people enjoy us losing our minds over how bad Raw is.
I think so too. Yeah.
I often find that people actually prefer when you don't like something. That seems to be how
Yeah.
commentary works like. So there's this overemphasis on people hating everything
Yeah.
because it's more fun to scream about things.
That's literally how Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless built their careers.
Joseph, if I may.
That was a really good Skip Bayless.
Really?
No.
Man, you've upset me so much. I'm going to throw my Cowboys jersey in the trash can now. It's a sports podcast now. Anything to avoid talking about this Raw.
Right?
Well, let's talk about Nitro first because we like that. That's good. They're in Columbus, Georgia at Civic Center. That's all it said was Civic Center. I assume it's the Columbus Civic Center, but it'd be hilarious if it was just titled Civic Center. No Columbus Civic Center. Done.
That's all
it.
you need, man.
I mean, it's true. It's not wrong. We got hour number 1 with Tony and Larry. And we got Super Callow debut versus Pat Tanaka. 2 minutes, 23 seconds. You know, I start really hyped on this, and as we get through Raw, I just kind of, I don't fucking care anymore. Ever noticed that?
Yeah.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Tell me about this match.
Super Callow is fine, but I don't love him the way I do some of his luchador counterparts of this era. I'm just not a huge Super Callow fan. There are kids outside. There's kids outside of the arena with NWO t-shirts, which will come into play later, and a ton of propaganda to distribute, which will also come into play later. Super Callow wins when Tanaka tries to do something from the top rope. It's like a weird power slam. It was weird, and then Callow quote unquote reverses it, but really they just both kind of fall, and Callow falls on him. So I guess he gets the win, like a 1-2-3 after that. It's kind of a sloppy match and not a great debut for Super Callow. The crowd's not super into it either. And yeah, we talk about how bad Raw is. No, Nitro is not nearly as bad as that by any stretch, but it starts off a little rough with this segment and the next one.
Yeah, it's not a great debut for Super Callow. It's nowhere near the Rey Mysterio Juventud debuts where you're just like, holy shit, these guys are here to stay. Not that impression. And like I said, I just feel like Super Cal's wearing a grocery bag on his face, and I can never not see it. It's just what it looks. There's this band. They were a comedy duo out of Ireland called the Rubber Bandits, I think it was, and they would do comedy songs, and they wore trash bags on faces. And so that's what I think of when I see Super Callow. In other news, Mean Gene with Rick Steiner. Apparently Rick and Lex are going to go at it. It's a Rick Steiner promo, so it's crazy. I mean, I like Rick Steiner, but I mean, he's not great on the mic. He's just kind of insane. That's what I love about him. Joseph, do you have thoughts about this?
I do, but they're not exactly positive ones. Steiner says he could have beaten Lex Luger last week, and he had him beat, but Nick Patrick screwed him. Now, what I'm saying is very coherent. The way that Rick Steiner does it is like, I could have beat him. I could, like, no matter what Gene says, I could have beat him. I could have beat. I had him beat. I had him. You saw me, Gene. I had him beat. I could have beat him. And he just keeps saying that over and over, which is like, okay, go on to the next thing. Eventually, Lex comes out, and then Rick says again, I can beat you. And it's like, all right. So Lex puts over the Steiners, and he says that they are one of the greatest, if not the greatest tag team of all time. But this is singles wrestling. And tonight, their match, he's focused, and he will win their match. Rick is horrible in this promo, but Lex is very good. So I'll give this a C, I guess.
Lex is made sense a couple of weeks in a row, and I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm
World's
scared.
ending.
What is going on? Yeah, good Lex. And then we go right into a paid for by the NWO advertisement, announcement, whatever you want to call it. And it's one of our favorites, I think.
Yes.
Buy it. And, Joseph, tell us about this one.
So this is before Kevin Nash starts doing the buy it thing, but instead he gets real close. It's for their shirt. It's for their NWO shirt. But Kevin Nash, it's real quick. They're like, "Oh, do you want to look like us? Wear the NWO shirt." And then Kevin Nash just goes, "Buy the shirt." It fucking killed me. It was so good. That's really all this is, but I love it. It gets an A from me.
I also like how all proceeds go to the Ric Flair Retirement Fund.
It's so good.
Yeah, they're good. These guys are good at this.
You know what else is good, Scott?
What?
Not only did Shohei Ohtani join the 40-40 club
Oh.
last night, he just hit number 41.
Oh.
So now everyone's going, it's good. He's going to do 50-50. He might, it's possible, but that's a lot to get in the next month and a half.
Why not? Why not 60-60?
Jesus Christ.
70-70. You know me. Clayton Kershaw gonna have 5,000 strikeouts by the end of the year. Anyways, we got to get back on track here, Joseph, because something important happened. Blood finally ran warm. I mean, what? What happens? I mean, if blood runs cold with the promos, is it warm now? Because we got Glacier in a match. He has a match, but not here on WCW Pro that no one's watching. He on Pro though. He had a match. What are they doing?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because it's still quite a ways before he actually debuts on Nitro, and they make a huge deal out of it. So why are they doing it on Pro now? What? I don't know. Nasty Boys versus the Amazing French Canadians. 30 minutes, 27 seconds, Joseph. Tell me about this tag team match, because while I think about what they're doing to my boy Glacier.
The Amazing French Canadians are Jacques Rougeau and Carl Ouellet, I believe it is, or Ouellet, or something like that. Carl Ouellet still wrestles as PCO, which is the most common way he's referred to. And he was very recently in WWF within like the last year. He was that pirate gimmick, if you remember that. And he blames the Click for his WWF tenure not working. In his case, much like Shane Douglas, it's easier to blame someone when you simply aren't great to begin with. Yeah, I said it.
Whoa!
I'm
Also, that was
sorry.
a horrible gimmick.
Yeah, it was a horrible gimmick, but also you're not going to do anything with it. That's kind of on you at the same time. If you can't give 100%, whether the gimmick is bad or not, it's on you. Anyways, Jacques Rougeau is apparently a dick, according to Kevin Owens, and Owens seems to be a stand-up dude, so I'm going to believe him in this situation. There's a story he mentions about him being like really creepy with, because he trained under him very briefly when he was up and coming in his career, and he mentions that the guy would just be like really creepy and pervy to the women that would come to train with him. He didn't go into too many details because he kind of just didn't want to open up that can of worms, but it's like, yeah, that's enough for me. Anyways, I will say the Amazing French Canadians
Allegedly.
yeah, that's true. That actually is alleged. There's, we don't have evidence of it. The Amazing French Canadians are actually pretty entertaining, I think. They start by singing "Oh Canada" before the Nasty Boys attack them. They will do this a lot. They will sing "Oh Canada." They will piss off the crowd. It's great. It's it's a layup for heel work, right? Just we're a foreigner, so we're gonna be foreign, and you're gonna hate it because it's USA, USA. It's easy and it works every time. Nasty Boys, or actually during this match, the youngins are passing around NWO propaganda that reads, "You haven't seen bad, but it's coming." So those kids we saw earlier are now in the crowd doing that. Nasty Boys win a hard-fought match when Knobs takes the Montreal flag and hits Ouellet with it, which honestly I thought was really good. Gene then interviews the Nasty Boys and mentions that he tried to conduct an interview with Harlem Heat last week when the Nasty Boys attacked him. The Nasty Boys get a chant from the crowd, so they're clearly over with the crowd. And remember, this is all live, so these things aren't being piped in like on WWF. Jerry Skaggs, then says everyone is pointing the finger at the Nasty Boys, and asking if they're NWO or WCW. Well, all that concerns them is the tag team titles. Then Brian Knobbs says they don't care what the NWO does. This wasn't even the question that Gene asked. They had a real opportunity to make this about their feud with Harlem Heat, but instead they themselves fell back into the NWO thing. I thought that was a huge misstep. The match itself is pretty good. The promo is really what got me. I'm going to give this a B minus because I think overall it was entertaining, but huge misstep from the Nasty Boys.
Yeah, it was pointless. We've already said we don't like this. They need to stop with it because they're just not doing a good job with it. Just another example. After that, though, we have a strange match.
Yeah.
We have Scott Norton versus Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman with Teddy Long in a submission match. 3 minutes. What?
In defense of the submission match, both these guys' finisher is a submission, so that kind of makes sense, right? Scott Norton has the Fujiwara armbar, and Craig Pitbull Pittman has, I believe, it's Code Red is his submission, which is also just not the same armbar, but a different armbar. Norton absolutely destroys Pittman in this, taking him around the outside of the ring, throwing him shoulder first into various objects before rolling him into the ring and hitting the Fujiwara armbar. That armbar focuses seemingly on the shoulder joint, so that makes a lot of sense why he was doing that, but he absolutely just steamrolls him. During this portion where he's got him in the armbar, Teddy Long tells Pitbull Pittman not to give up, but it's very clear, like, he's not getting out of this lock, at which point Ice Train comes out and asks Teddy, "What are you doing?" and then throws in the towel for Pittman. Then he confronts Norton, kind of, and that's kind of how this ends. Like, he just kind of stands face to face with him and then just kind of backs away. I hated this. I hated this so much. The reason I hated this is not because of the concept. The concept is fine, right? I like what Scott Norton did. I like how he was essentially winning this match, but I would rebook this. I would have the exact same stuff happen up to the point of Ice Train coming out. I would have Ice Train come out. I wouldn't even have him ask Teddy Long, "What are you doing?" I wouldn't even have him throw in the towel. I just have him attack Scott Norton. Like, he's gotten attacked week after week. The thing that connects him is Teddy Long is the manager for both these men, right? So technically, by proxy, Pitbull Pittman is kind of your boy. Go protect your boy. Go out and attack him. Like, that's what this should have been for, and it would have gotten me hyped for their eventual match. But instead, it's just completely lackluster, and I fucking hated it. I gave it a D.
Clearly, your mind was not. You were in a dark place when you watched this match. So I'm going to correct you, but I know you just made a mistake because you were in a dark place. And the mistake is Code Red is Craig Pittman's finisher, which is a cross arm breaker. And Scott Norton has the flashback, which is arm breaker DDT.
No.
That's what bro, I'm on the wiki.
Look.
Take it up with the wiki, bro.
Yeah, I will. Fuck you, Wiki. That's a Fujiwara armbar that Scott Norton's doing, and that is a clear standard armbar. That's the Code Red. Get out of here.
Pittman's got the Code Red, and that's the Fujiwara armbar.
No, Fujiwara armbar is the one that's behind the back.
I don't know, man.
That Norton does.
Well, why don't you go and edit the wiki then and see what happens? Mr. Big Shot, who do you think you are? Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's not good because I feel bad for Craig Pittman, but it needs to stop. It's not gonna happen. It needs to stop.
Yeah.
After that, we got Mean Gene. Mean Gene, as they say. With Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, and Lex Luger. But no Sting? What's going on, Joseph?
Well, speaking of that, Flair wants to know where Sting is.
Yeah.
Luger says he understands the importance of this match and knowing where Sting is. He'll find Sting, who he says is here. He mentioned somebody offhandedly saw him in the back. I think it was one of the Steiners. So he'll go find him. Flair is livid and says Luger and Sting better show up at their match at War Games. Mongo then comes over and says he knew Sting of Ling and Sexy Lexi of Ling would betray them. Arn says he booked ahead a hospital room after War Games because he may need it. I gave this a B. Other than Mongo, it's a lot of fun. But this is actually the angle that will lead to Crow Sting. So I'm pretty hyped for that.
It's history in the making.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Then we have a recap of Diamond Dallas Page. He's been feuding with the Guerrero family, the entire friggin' family. Everybody. Hector, Chavo, Eddie, Carlos, Jose, Ricardo. I made up half of those.
Yeah. It got more absurd. I loved it.
Jose Ole, Guerrero, all of them, man. All of them. But that leads us to our next match, where we got our boy Juventud, Hoovy, Galera. That's how I do it, so I don't forget to do the instead of the O.
Yeah.
Whatever. Versus Joe Gomez. What? Again, I don't hate Joe Gomez, but the poor dude is just a jobber. You know what's going to happen. 2 minutes, 12 seconds, Joseph. What happens?
So it's interesting that you mentioned the Guerrera and the distinction of that, because in this match, Shivani keeps calling Juventud Guerrera Juventud Guerrero. And Mike Tenay and Larry Zbyszko keep saying Guerrera with emphasis, which made me chuckle because eventually Shivani catches on and corrects himself, which is just kind of fun. The Juice hits a springboard flipping drop kick, which is honestly wild. It was really cool. But beyond that, this kind of falls apart. One funny thing that happens, I mentioned this, I think, a week or two ago, is that Mike Tenay comments on Conan's new Cholo look, and he describes it as the Mexican gangs of East Los Angeles, which is the widest way I've ever heard someone say Cholo or Chicano. That shit cracked me up. I was like, man, Mike Tenay, you are a pinche güero. Just absolutely. I love Mike Tenay. But that was hilarious.
Mexican street youths. And
Anyways, Guerrero hits a springboard corkscrew plancha, which Mike Tenay calls a Hero Con plancha, tomato. Beyond that, this match is actually really sloppy, and the crowd boos a few times because they kind of miss spots and they just kind of make mistakes in the ring. It didn't look very good. I gave it a D.
You're right. The whole match, they were just kind of missing each other. It didn't really seem like they were clicking. You're right. The audience, it was so bad the audience noticed, which I think is when you know it, you didn't do your best. But we like Hoovies. We like Hoovy. We like Joe. I'll let it go. I will let it go. But Mean Gene will not let go.
What a great segue.
Thank you. That was just off the dome, my friend. Mean Gene will not let go this Nick Patrick nonsense. Mean Gene here, he's telling Nick, explain this DQ last week of Lex Luger, which if you want to know more about that, you're going to have to listen to last week's pod. But Nick, yeah. But Nick says, it's your fault, Gene. You're a muckraker. What do you think of this?
I like that. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, Patrick continues to say that because of the lies that Gene has been spreading, Sexy Lexi chased him out of the building. Why wasn't he suspended? If it happened to any of the other refs, he would have been suspended, but because it happened to him, Sexy Lexi is not suspended. Real quick, obviously, Lex Luger's never been gone by Sexy Lexi. I'm just having fun with it. Regardless,
I mean, he goes by it in this house.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. In this house, we know two things. Sexy Lexi and Brokeback Mountain is the Academy Award worthy freaking movie. Anyways.
Absolutely.
Which I think it did win some awards. So anyways, Gene says all these problems are far too coincidental. Patrick says he is WCW through and through, at which point Gene mentions the new cars and new house and the Rolexes. And Patrick says he and Gene may end up in court. I gave it an A. The combination of Mean Gene and Nick Patrick Weekly has been really fun for the last few weeks, and I thoroughly enjoyed this one too.
Brokeback Mountain was nominated for a bunch of awards. I don't necessarily think I'm trying to see if it won any though. because we got a segue here. This is important because I don't want to talk about Raw. Uh, I don't know. It's nominated for a bunch of stuff. I don't. It was nominated for Best Picture, which it did not win, but it won Best Director, Best Adapted Screenplay, Original Score. It also won a Golden Lion at the Venice International Film Festival and the Crying Monkey. I made that last one up. I think that's a Tropic Thunder
That's the
reference.
Tropic Thunder reference. Yeah.
Yeah. For a second there, you're like, oh wait, is that a real award? No.
No, I knew exactly what that was.
Speaking of
Oh,
crying,
man.
I cried laughing at the next segment where the New World Order is in the parking lot putting flyers in everybody's car, but it is pouring
Yeah.
rain. Like those, no one's gonna be able to read those flyers.
No one's able to read them, and they're all stuck to those cars now.
Yeah, like it's terrible. And Ted's out there. He's standing next to the limo. He's got his umbrella out, and he's talking to somebody in the car. Ooh, who could it be? Is it man 5 or 6 or 7 or 8? I don't know. What'd you think of this?
There's not a whole lot to say other than what you said. I loved it, though. I gave it an A.
It's just nuts. It's just insane, and it's just the NWO can make anything work. Like
Well,
this,
right now,
yeah,
they can't.
yeah. They're just so cool because like this is dumb. Like why would you be doing this in the pouring rain? But I'm fine with it because they do it. After that, we got Saturday night 6:05. Diamond Dallas Page is gonna go against Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Rick Steiner's gonna go against Kurosawa. Lex Luger, Scott Norton, Chris Benoit, the Nasty Boys, bunch of them out there. Sounds exciting. We should watch it. They don't put it on Peacock. Hour number 2. Eric, Bobby, and Mike Tenay. Do you think they know that Eric is going to be is this part of the transition here, do you think? That Eric, spoiler, Eric eventually joins the NWO. It's not a good idea.
What?
Yeah. Do you think they know this already, and that's why they're bringing in Mike Tenay now that he's kind of a mainstay at the table?
Could
In
be.
Hour
That's
2?
actually an interesting theory I didn't think about. But yeah, it sounds pretty reasonable.
Yeah,
Because
speaking of which,
you'd need to have somebody with Bobby, right? Well, I
yeah,
don't know, because I'm trying to remember, because sometimes Eric does still do commentary, but I don't think he does it full time after this. So yeah, you're probably right.
it's funny, I was reading Nitro by Guy Evans.
Yeah, okay.
And I can't remember who it was, but apparently Eric Bischoff went to the guy and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about joining NWO. What do you think?" And the guy was like, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." And then Eric just never talked to him again. So, guy was right, Eric. You should have listened.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll talk about that when we get there. Next up, we got Rick Steiner and Lex Luger in singles competition. Joseph, what do you make of that? 6 minutes 58 seconds.
This is honestly a pretty fun match. And then during it, Nick Patrick runs out and tells Lex Luger he needs to head outside immediately because of the NWO. We have a camera at the limo, and DiBiase is talking to a man that sounds just like Sting. Whoa. Then Luger comes out, and a man who looks nothing like Sting, but he is wearing the appropriate attire and face paint, beats the hell out of Luger with the NWO. This War Games match is in shambles. I gave the whole segment an A. Yes, we have, not only hindsight being 2020, but we also have the fact that we have much better TVs and things like that, and we have the internet and all that stuff. So, what we call it fake Sting eventually doesn't really look anything like Sting or Steve Borden. But for the time, I could see how that would have worked, especially because of the face paint and stuff like that. It's ridiculous now, but in '96, it's pretty effective. So I do thoroughly enjoy it. And like I said last week, this on the March to Crow Sting, baby. So I'm along for the ride.
I tell you, I like the Sting stuff. I think it can be handled better, and we'll get to that when we do, because I think it overstays its welcome and all of that. But I like the idea. I like the fake Sting stuff. Following that, though, we get a recap of a bunch of stuff from last week. You didn't even have to watch last week because they're telling you everything. The Four Horsemen and the NWO, the limo. We got the questionable DQ by Nick Patrick. I mean, it's just pretty much. Is there anything really more to say? It's really just a really long recap of last week.
It is a long recap, but we won't recap because you got to go listen to last week if you want to hear about it.
Oh my goodness. How clever of you. Yeah, I don't know. Were they just trying to fill some time here? Because I was like, Jesus, you didn't have
But
to watch last week.
this has becomes a recurring thing that WCW will do. Remember, we used to comment on when we were watching is like if something big happened, like if it was like a half-hour ending segment to a pay-per-view, like they'll show the whole half hour the next day on Nitro, and it's like, why am I rewatching this? I just
Yeah,
watched all this.
yeah.
Anyways, you know what
We,
we should do, Scott?
what?
Buy a shirt.
Buy it. They go to commercial. We come back. We again see that this Sting jumping Lex. This is a big deal. What is this going to do? What does this mean for War Games? There's just a lot going on. After that, though, they go some WCW. WCW goes out to the limo and got some yellow spray paint inside the car, and they start spraying cars. What's going on?
That's kind of it. That's kind of you said it.
Yeah, it's just I guess we got WCW, we got spray paint now too. All right. After that, we got a cruiserweight championship. We got Rey Mysterio and Billy Kidman. I like this Billy Kidman. And of course, we like Rey Mysterio, but it's a minute 38, Joseph. Does Rey lose the title in a minute 38? Of course not. Tell me.
No, he does not. Mysterio wins quickly with the springboard Rana. Yeah, this match is way too quick for my liking. I don't think they needed all that recap stuff. They really hurt this match by doing it. I would have liked to have seen these guys go at it. Billy Kidman has been in a lot of matches on the losing end. I don't think he's won a single match, at least on Nitro, and he has not really had a chance to shine because of it. So it would have been nice to see this get some more time because Billy Kidman, not my favorite wrestler by any stretch, but obviously very talented in some of the things that he does, and he will eventually get his day in WCW. We're not quite there yet, but yeah, I gave this a C. It's just way too quick to enjoy.
Agreed. But we get a longer match after that, and it's Faces of Fear. I like the Faces of Fear versus Public Enemy, though. This isn't, leaves much to be desired. But 10 minutes, 42 seconds, Joseph?
During this match, the Leprechaun chases Jimmy Hart around the ring, which is strange because aren't they both in Dungeon of Doom? Anyways, during the match, Mean Gene interviews the remaining members of Team WCW for their War Games match. Arn says he is. Here's the crazy thing, real quick, before I go into that. This is during the match. They completely cut away while the match is going on and have a whole Mean Gene segment. Like, this is not a short segment. It is a long segment. Then go back to the still going on match, which really wasn't very good to begin with. Anyways, Arn says he isn't disturbed that Luger lost a friend or sad that he lost a teammate, but he is shocked because Sting was the only constant in WCW over the last 10 years. This is actually really true. It's a really good call from Arn because even Ric Flair, who is, WCW through and through, left for a short time when I don't remember who it was who took over WCW. I'd remember the name if you said it, but like wanted to book him as like a gladiator and have him cut all his hair off and start wearing like gladiator stuff or Roman stuff or something stupid. And he was like, nah, fuck that. And he left and went to WWF. And obviously never had the Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair match, which is a huge misstep on Vince's part. Regardless of that, Ric Flair left. Like, he actually did leave. And during that time, from one not great booker to another, before we finally got some stability, whether you like him or don't, with Eric Bischoff, there was stability when he finally took over for a time. Stings was there through all of that. I mean, he really was the WCW guy. So I like that Arn, I don't really care about you, but I do care about that. And that is a really good take from Arn. He also says he wants some answers from Luger. Luger says he has no answers after his best friend attacked him, but he will find Sting and he'll do it right now because he knows where he lives. They own a gym together. He will find him. Flair then says he has stood here and listened to it all, but he's over it. They're the Horsemen. They are going to War Games, and if Luger wants to ride, then he can ride, but the Horsemen are coming to town. Weird to have this promo mid-match. Granted, the match is boring, But yeah, the promo is great. The promo I'm gonna give an A to. I loved all of that. We go back to the match. Barbarian dives onto Rocco Rock, who's on a table, but Rocco Rock moves and Barbarian crashes through the table. Rocco sets up another table and Public Enemy put Meng on the table. Rocco moonsaults onto Meng, who just kind of gets right back up and starts swinging. So, okay. Meng chokes out Johnny Grunge for the win. What the fuck did I just watch? I gave it a D.
Jim Hurd.
Yes, yes, that's the name. Yeah.
I was researching that entire time you were talking. I was like, I'm gonna find that for you. Wanted him to be a guy named wanted Ric Flair to cut his hair and be called Spartacus.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So Ric Flair said, "Nah," just left. Man, can't blame the guy.
No.
Can't blame
And
the
took
guy.
the title with him.
Yeah. After that, Mean Gene's talking with the Dungeon of Doom.
Yeah, this is another. I mean, you know me. I can't stand Dungeon of Doom. Jimmy Hart says he's tired of everyone being in his face about creating the giant, but he says it's the beginning of the end for the giant. He just doesn't know yet. Jimmy Hart's role in this is actually pretty decent. Then Big Bubba wants to know about Glacier and come and get a little bit of this, Karate Man. He even says, like, we've been seeing you for 6 or 7 or 8 months, but still no Glacier. Like, they're actually actively making fun of it. It's fucking stupid.
It's terrible. They're the ones doing it. Like,
Yeah.
poor Glacier.
Conan, who I forgot had for some reason joined Dungeon and Doom. I don't even remember if they gave an on-screen reason. Yeah, Conan is tired of the NWO public service announcements. They aren't tough, according to him, and he challenges the NWO. That's all he says. I challenge you. Okay. Sullivan tells Mach he better get rid of the giant, but start with John Tenta tonight because I guess in his eyes, Dungeon of Doom helped Mach last week, but really Mach got his ass beat anyways. So he owes Dungeon of Doom, which doesn't really make sense. And in order to pay up on that debt, he must take care of John Tenta for him, but also because John Tenta is a bigger guy, that somehow will set him up for a good match against I don't know. Kevin Sullivan is not good as a booker. He just isn't. He's not good. Yeah, I don't like Kevin Sullivan. He's not good at all. Anyways, I gave this whole thing a D. It was not good, except for Jimmy Hart, who I thought did a pretty good job.
The man just died.
So?
Oh my God. I guess we should mention that because I don't think we've actually talked about that. But
Yeah.
in real life, Kevin Sullivan recently passed away. So he was alive up until a couple weeks ago. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's just worth mentioning. I mean, he did. It's news.
I don't think he was an especially great person. I don't think he was a good booker. I'm not going to change any of those opinions because the dude died. It is what it is.
Well, anyways, he died. So
Yeah.
I guess rest in peace, Kevin. Even though Joseph disagrees. Just yeah, I've never quite the Conan joining the dungeon thing. I mean, I don't understand anything the dungeon does, but when you think of Mexican urban street youths in the South Central Los Angeles, I don't think of the Dungeon of Doom. But you know, maybe.
Yeah, it's the Crips, the Bloods, and the Dungeon of Doom.
Why not? After that, though, we get a palate cleanse. We get another announcement paid for by the New World Order, and DiBiase's making some demands, Joseph.
Yeah, Hogan kind of mentions in this, and I think I talked about this and kind of teased it last week, right? Or the week before, because like the confusion of like who's number 4, who's number 5, all that nonsense. So he says Ted DiBiase is the boss and has more money than Ted Turner. I think you actually mentioned that it's trillionaire Ted, not billionaire Ted in this case, which is really great mention by you. This is great, but they will abandon this very quickly because of Eric Bischoff's ego. I love Bischoff, but this is true. It just is. Nash leans into the buy the shirt voice, and it's great. DiBiase does more here than he did for the last 2 years in WWF. That whole, I mean,
It's true.
am I wrong?
It's true. It's true.
I mean, like that whole $1 million corporation was just ugh. During this, Scott Hall debuts the NWO for Life hand gesture by using the four horsemen hand gesture and turning it on its side. Of course, Scott Hall would connect that excellently in a story way. Dude was a wrestling savant. I love this whole thing. I gave it an A.
It's fantastic. And I like Ted DiBiase as the money man. I like this version, right?
I agree. Yeah.
I think this makes perfect sense. This is what Ted was, this is what Ted was brought in to do. He was brought in to kind of be like the manager for NWO, speak for them, do promos, that sort of thing, be the money man. He's the guy pulling the strings. He's the one's giving them all the money. It's a way to move them away from the idea that WWF is somehow involved. It's really Ted. It's been Ted DiBiase the whole time and his trillions. He's got more money than Ted Turner. But it only lasts a couple of weeks maybe before Eric Bischoff jumps in. And I just
Well, it at least, I mean, yes, because Bischoff will jump in, but I do remember that whenever they do the NWO Sold Out pay-per-view, the first one, that Ted DiBiase and Eric Bischoff kind of do commentary the whole time. So he's still with them until then. So whenever that is, and then it's very shortly after that he just kind of is like, nah, I'm not doing this anymore because you've kind of taken my role.
Yeah, and there comes a point where Ted DiBiase just kind of collecting a paycheck, and he's like, "This, you took my job, but I've got a contract, so
Yeah.
whatever." Ted's never been one to shy away from easy money,
Allegedly.
and we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, just anyway.
We're gonna have to have an episode where we go the one where we talk about Ted DiBiase.
I mean, at some point we might have to.
Oh man.
Ted is allegedly, I think, has he gone to court yet?
Well, his son has. I think his son went to jail for it.
Yeah, it was COVID. It was COVID's money scam, right, or something like that.
Well, let's look it up. Let's pause for station identification. Here on the Monday Night Wars Podcast Network. All right, I'm pulling it up right now. So, it was a welfare fraud accusation in February 20. This is all off Wikipedia. In February 2020, it was reported that DiBiase's ministry received because he became a pastor, by the way. Ministry received more than 2.1 million in welfare funds from the state of Mississippi after his son Brett was hired as deputy administrator of the state's Department of Human Services. His son Brett pleaded guilty to creating fraudulent statements in what has been labeled as Mississippi's largest public embezzlement case in state history. In October 2021, a court ordered Ted DiBiase Sr. to pay $722,299 of the misappropriated funds given to his Heart of David Ministries. In May 2022, the Mississippi Department of Human Services sued DiBiase, his sons, and retired NFL quarterback Brett Favre and several others to recover more than $20 million in money squandered from the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Anti-Poverty Program. In April 2022, the Mississippi Office of I can't believe this keeps going on. The Mississippi Office of State Auditor reported that DiBiase personally received a $250,000 check from the Family Resource Center, a Mississippi welfare grantee, to provide services as a motivational speaker. DiBiase forwarded an email from the welfare grantee to his sons, Ted DiBiase Jr. and Brett DiBiase, stating, "Look what I got today." DiBiase says his famous name made his family a target for federal investigators. "We're caught in the middle of it. If I didn't have a celebrity name, they wouldn't even be looking at me," which is an odd excuse for fucking embezzlement. On February 22nd, 2024, Ted's ex-agent opened up in an exclusive interview to discuss his thoughts on Ted's involvement, where E-Wrestling News quoted him as saying, quote, "It just doesn't match the man that I've known. Ted is careful in the sense that he wouldn't do that. He has a real love for God and his wife. He just wouldn't do that, in my honest opinion." Except for the fact that clearly he did do that. So, all right, whatever.
Ted DiBiase is such a good heel. He don't break character till the DVD commentary, man. Well, anyways, there you have it. Main event: Randy Savage versus Contenta. 3 minutes. Tell me about it, Joseph.
Oh man, Savage is in that copper and black gear that is so good. You might remember that last week when you know what? I'm not even gonna tell you about his outfit last week. You got to go listen to it. Anyways, Savage hits two diving elbows, but Teddy Long runs out and tells Mach that he needs to come confront the NWO. Mach runs out along with many other WCW members, but the first limo takes off, presumably with the NWO in it, and the second limo is still there, but it's vacant after they search it. This segment is not as strong as the other anti NWO segments, but it's still better than anything on Raw. Arn goes to commentary and says that the world is outraged, but no one is hotter than the Horsemen, and mentions the original Horsemen being him, Flair, Ole, and Tully. He says that Hogan wants to be a horseman when he grows up, but they will take off Sting's head at War Games. Nice little promo from Arn, pretty quick. Bischoff wants to talk at this point. He wants to, make a message and a statement, but Flair gets mad and interrupts him. And he's just like, "Are you gonna let me talk? Are you gonna let me talk?" And he's just like, "All right, go ahead." And he grabs the mic. It doesn't really make any difference as to who the NWO brings. The Horsemen will beat them all, is what Flair's message is. Bischoff starts talking again, and then Flair interrupts him again. Finally, Bischoff gets to say it may have been a mistake bringing Hogan to WCW. That's kind of the message he wanted to deliver the whole time, but Flair kept interrupting him. Obviously, from a storyline standpoint, yes, this would be accurate. However, realistically, no, it was a very smart move to bring Hulk Hogan to WCW. It made them really legitimate. However, the real problem was giving him creative control. If they had not done that, this would have been a great move. Unfortunately, that's the thing that's going to help squander. Not the thing that kills WCW, but definitely doesn't help WCW. Overall, this segment I gave a C. It's not nearly as strong as some of the other segments that we've seen where really WCW is kind of anti-NWO, or on the opposite end, NWO is antagonizing or beating up or whatever. It was a much weaker segment, and I believe the pay-per-view is next week or next Sunday. So, not the best go home, not horrible by any stretch. I'm still looking forward to that pay-per-view, mostly because of some of the stuff that happened in the beginning of this show, specifically with the fake Sting angle. Overall, I gave the show grade a B minus. Not the best Nitro, but it's certainly better than the dog shit we're about to talk about next.
Well, that's the thing. I honestly didn't feel like this was that good of a Nitro,
Right.
but in comparison to what we have next, good Lord. Buckle up. Monday Night Raw, September 9th, 1996, Wheeling, West Virginia at Civic Center. We got Kevin Kelly, Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler. We're trying to have Kelly for a little while. Spoiler, doesn't work out. Dude's there for like a month. First match is part of the WWF Intercontinental Quarterfinal Tournament, whatever. Farouk and Savio Vega, Joseph. 13 minutes, 35 seconds. What in the hell? Go ahead, Joseph. I think, frankly, is this the best match of the night? I think it might be.
Yes, it is. So Sonny has previously, with Farouk, been dressing in a more reserved or conservative fashion, wearing like nice dresses and things like that. Things that not necessarily covered up, but more elegant. And I really enjoyed that because it kind of plays into the Farouk character, right? He doesn't want all that other stuff that she's been doing. Well, that kind of goes out the window right here. And she's back in kind of her, sex styled, dressed up in a button down blouse that is only buttoned at the bottom, and a bright red push up bra and a skirt. And yeah, it's fucking whatever. All right. Again, I don't inherently care if, that's the thing Sonny wants to do. That's totally fine. But it's not so much that I feel that Sonny wants to do it so much as WWF has gone, hey, we can make money off this. So this is what we're going to do. Anyways, like I said, I really enjoyed the different version of Sonny that we were getting with Farouk. And, I thought it added to his character. That being said, get ready for a lot of Farouk versus Savio Vega, as well as a lot of Farouk versus Ahmed Johnson over the next year. Dear God, this is never going to go away. This has kind of been another look at Sunny match, and I just don't understand how WWF doesn't get how to make this character have longevity. I 100% believe that if she was booked properly and to be fair, overcame her own problems, we talk about Sunny the same way we talk about Paul Heyman. I, I'm being honest with that. Part of it is their booking, the other part of it is, her getting over herself. So those are two huge obstacles to get past, but she really had that potential. I mean, she was that good. Anyways, Farouk wins this match with a dominator, which I have always loved, whether done by Farouk or later Bobby Lashley. Sonny grabs a mic and says, "You just saw the first step to make Farouk the new IC champion. They just have to barrel through Psycho Sid, who comes down to the ring and says, 'Watch what you ask for. You might just get it.' And they have to be separated." I gave this a C. It's not great. It's not bad. It's fine. And then it gets worse.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you caught this, but during the show or during the match, JR made a comment about how Farouk gonna end up like Tupac Shakur,
Oh, God. I did
and
not
I
catch
was
that.
like, "What the hell, JR?" First of all, I was like, "He's gonna end up on an island with Elvis and the Kennedy brothers?"
What a great pull.
Just just kidding. Tupac Shakur was murdered over the weekend before this episode. I don't actually think he's dead yet, but he has been shot and he'll die later. And it's like, "What?"
Was that this weekend?
Yeah, I think it was. Look it up. Let me look it up to make
Oh,
sure.
oh, I'm thinking of a different rapper who was killed because it was last year that Jerry did the same thing.
I'm clip clapping here on the computer. You can probably hear that on the show. He died September 13th. Yeah, 1996.
Got you, got
And
you.
I think it took a couple of days. Like I don't think he died right away. Let's see here. Let's see. I got guys, I don't need to know all this great information about him. Just tell me when he died, when he got shot. It's just there's too much good information. Someone really likes this. Someone really likes this Tupac Shakur individual. There's a lot of information. Yeah, September 7th, 1996. That's when he was shot. So this is the 9th. So yeah, it was over the weekend that he was shot, and then he dies on the 13th. And it's like, wow. First of all, very topical, JR. Secondly, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's a very Jerry line, which is surprising here from JR. Was it Diddy who just got connected with the murder, like, the other day?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the new kind of alleged Diddy did it. I don't know. It seems like everyone hates Diddy now, so I don't know if they're just throwing everything on him. But
No, well, okay, all right, well, let's just go into that because I wanna fucking talk about this shit. I believe what happened was the guy who hired the hitman actually has been working with the FBI recently to kind of prove that to be true because he was hired by Diddy. So is that they're actually making a case out of it, to my understanding. That's what I read.
well, I looked it up. I was looking up Diddy to see if that was in the news here, and apparently Diddy's also being sued by the Sinaloa drug cartel over damages to their drug business, which I didn't know you could do that, but I guess you can. I don't know.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I don't know. We got to move on though, because I want to get done with this as quickly as possible. Next up, they've got a bunch of people wishing Ahmed well. Some people not wishing Ahmed well. Some people saying some mean things about him.
Yeah.
Whatever. After that, we got a new guy interviewing Shawn Michaels, Carlos something.
I think he said Carlos Cabrera. I believe he's part of the Spanish announce team. I think
Gotcha.
the reason for it is because Jose Lothario is part of this promo, and they kinda need him, like, in case he needs to translate. I think that was the idea behind this.
Well, go ahead. Tell us what happened, man.
Yeah, so HBK gets interviewed. Sean is asked if he's ready for Mankind, and he says before he gets to that, he'd like to address Camp Cornette, or at least what's left. He has single handedly dismantled the entire camp except for Jim Cornette, and because he doesn't beat on women, he will let Super Sock Jose Lothario clean his clock instead. What a great line. I actually really love that. Jose Lothario then says the thing between him and Cornette has become personal and that he's going to kick his butt. HBK says that Mankind has been running roughshod over the WWF until now. He says he isn't the biggest or the baddest, but he has more guts than he has brains, and somehow that works to his advantage, and that Mankind's reign of terror will end at Mind Games. Then he puts over Taker and says, until he is back, HBK will be their daddy. Do not hunt what you can't kill. This is the one thing this entire night that I enjoyed. I gave this an A. This is really the first time Sean's been able to like just go out and do what he wants, like go out and just speak as Sean instead of like, go be a baby face, go do these things and stuff. I mean, obviously he did it when he was a heel, but like, I mean, as a babyface character, this is really the first time he hasn't been super formulaic and they let him do his thing, which, we talked about this, a lot. You and I are watching about a year ahead of this, and we're starting to get that Sean back. And that's the fun stuff. This will not be a common thing for the rest of this year. He'll have some moments where he does, some moments where he doesn't, but I thoroughly enjoyed this one.
And then they immediately go back into the gutter by highlighting Sean's Playboy magazine.
Playgirl.
Playgirl. I'm sorry, his would be very different. His Playgirl magazine, which family program.
By the
very
way,
appalled by.
By the way, not able to find on eBay or Mercari.
I'll work on that for you. Don't worry, man.
It's bullshit.
Christmas is coming up, my friend.
That would be such
but again, it's like they're disgusted by this. By the way, have you seen it?
Yeah, just on newsstands. Yeah.
After that, we've got we've got the Stalker, Barry Windham versus TJ Hooker. 3 minutes 28 seconds. Tell me about it, Joseph.
Oh man. Do we explain TJ Hooker or do we just move on?
We just move on, man. It's all right. Real name's TL Hopper.
Yeah. Anyways, Barry Windham does not deserve this. Pillman is in full picture-in-picture with Owen Hart, and he thanks Owen for setting up his future scoop with Brett. Owen thanks Pillman for getting Owen and Brett back together. At some point, Stalker wins, I think, with the superplex. This is bad. I gave it an F.
Correct. On all of it. Superplex, terrible. It's all true. Then there's a video package about how Mr. Perfect keeps stealing Triple H's, Hunter Hearst Helmsley's ladies. I actually kind of like this rivalry in theory. I don't remember it going anywhere, though, in practice. So,
well, I think
whatever.
A big swerve with it is what I think happens.
I think you're right. After that, they replay the awful Jerry the King, Mark Henry confrontation. Jerry makes comments about Jake the Snake's alcoholism again, because why not? And then they're going to wrestle, and then we find out that Mark Henry actually cannot wrestle and has to get more training. So he needs to go learn how to wrestle. And then after that, we've got Crush versus Freddie Joe Floyd. And Crush wins by punching him in the heart. I guess that kills him. I don't know. That dude's dead. 2 minutes, 41 seconds. I spoiled it for you, Joseph, but who cares?
I gave this an F for fuck this.
I mean, that's it, right? That's pretty much the match. He just like punches the dude in the heart, and I guess that caused him to die or something. Cardiac arrest. It's not good. Then they go back to the Bob Backlund thing where the Iron Sheik's back and they're gonna ruin our boy Fatu. So I'm not looking forward to that. And then we get our main event, Joseph. Our main event is The Undertaker. Okay. Versus Salvatore Sinceri. What? 9 and it's almost 10 minutes. It's 9 minutes 55 seconds. What the hell? Tell me about it, if you dare.
Oh man, why is Taker back? Like we talked about this before. Taker should not have come back immediately. They should have let him and Mankind thing, like just leave him off TV for a few months, give him a break, let him, take some time off, then bring him back. So you have this triumphant return, and all this stuff. You could have nice teases along the way because you can do supernatural elements and all that shit. Anyways, whatever.
Instead, he's in match of the week. Jobbers.
Yeah.
What?
During this, we get a picture in picture with Goldust and Marlena. Marlena, who really hasn't spoken a whole lot up until this point, says never stop fighting until the fight is done. Here end of the lesson, which is from The Untouchables, a 1987 film that is tied for me as my favorite movie ever. Goldust says that at Mind Games, he will lay The Undertaker to rest, but The Undertaker just died and came back a day later. Take that, Jesus. That doesn't mean anything. I just wrote that and I was laughing to myself. Anyways, Taker wins this fucking horrible match with a tombstone. We both love Taker, but this match was fucking stupid. This is one of the most I can't believe I wrote this. This is one of the most forgettable episodes of Raw I've ever seen. Literally nothing happens. I gave this match an F. I gave the show an F.
One of the worst. One of the worst. I guess something else we haven't talked about is throughout the night they've been talking about the Razor Diesel thing. They're coming, JR said he had on good authority they're coming back, and then later he said, "Oh, I wasn't actually supposed to say that." And then again, said, and then he comes back again and says, "No, but they're coming, but there was a snag or something." It leads to one of the worst gimmicks I have ever seen. It's horrible. And I wanted so badly to like it, which I feel makes it even worse. Nothing good can come of this. May God have mercy on your souls. See you next week, everybody. Oh, I guess in WCW 1.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.